going to be on the science of empathy. I don't know if that's coming in backwards in the screen or not, but um, basically it deals with zero empathy and the three personality types you would need to have zero empathy, because we do a lot of videos on a lot of violence and murders and children being murdered. We cover a lot of visuals, different things like that. So we did the Facebook killer, serial killer, different things like that. Also, with the 8-year-old committing suicide in Cincinnati and the different Facebook suicides, I think we should kind of look into what drives people, at least me personally. I like to look into what drives and try and find out what drives people to do these type of things, and what can be done to prevent it, of course. So you have three different personality types you have for zero empathy. So let me first preface by basically saying the guy that started the book, that wrote the book, he did a study. He's done studies for decades, and basically he found that he's come up with a questionnaire, but through research and different trials and testing different things, he can pinpoint when people have zero empathy and when they have on the positive side of empathy. So he found out basically when you have the borderline personality disorders, that's type P. Type B is borderline personality. Type P is psychopath, and type N is narcissistic. And I think a lot of people might feel like people fall under narcissistic for the simple fact that a lot of people are taking selfies and different things with social media. But I think it's interesting. I don't know what I'm going to title this video, because I want to title it, and it's an article with the same title, that the lack of empathy is the root of all evil and not money. But I don't know. This kind of video, we can go cover all kind of different topics. So also the suicide rate in the black community is at the highest in 20 years, a 20-year high. So I'm going to start off with type B, because type B personality, there's a 70% suicide attempt rate at least 3 times for type B, for borderline personalities. They see things in very black and white, either good or bad. There's really no in between. Only 15% of them seek counseling. They make up 2% of the population. The hallmark of the borderline is constant fear of abandonment, loneliness, hatred of others and themselves, and self-destructive, highly inconsistent behavior. And it says they go through the I hate you, no, I love you, kind of the back and forth thing. So it says they make up 2% of the population. And they're the most lethal of all the three due to the suicide rate. But a lot of this is interesting because I'm reading another book, The Anatomy of Violence, and this book also, The Science of Evil, and that book, The Science of Evil, says that the harsh environment doesn't really factor in, but the Anatomy of Violence book says, and they both have research, but the Anatomy of Violence book says that 33%, the environment influences 33% of a child's life, while the parent only has 22%. So the Anatomy of Violence is saying the environment has more of an influence than the parents. So, because that kind of, I think, goes along with the it takes a village thing, and that's kind of why I want to do this video too, where maybe, and there's a zero empathy test too, I'll leave in the description, but if we're going to go back to it takes a village, we have to recognize behaviors, recognize not only within ourselves but other people when we see, okay, this isn't going on or this is going on, and what can we do to step in? Borderlines either feel suffocated or abandoned. They live in unhealthy sequence of pushing others away or clinging desperately to them. 40 to 70% report sex abuse. And that's probably a strong correlation to the suicide attempt rate. So, people are committing suicide on Facebook. And I have a phrase where I say Facebook Live is the new suicide note. Instead of leaving a suicide note for people to read and different things like that, your last words, you can just show it to the whole world, I guess to give you that last chance of getting the attention you felt you never got or something. Psychopath, superficial charm, lack of anxiety or guilt, undependable and dishonesty, egocentric, inability to form lasting intimate relationships, experience of parental rejection in childhood. The child relationship with their parents is the crucible for learning about other people. Then you have the narcissist. They may not hurt others, but they think they're better than everyone else. They fail to see relationships as a two-way, and they say that was a thing for all three of them. Basically, they can't really see the other person. They only see themselves in a relationship. They don't see how they treat you, how, the narcs, they say they want to be the center of attention, socially withdrawn but sense of entitlement, expect others to come for them rather than meet halfway. And what I found interesting, because it's in the other book as well, was the testosterone levels. And basically, the less testosterone found in the fetus before birth, the higher level of emotional intelligence. Not intelligence, but emotional intelligence. That's kind of what the empathy test is to test your emotional intelligence on how you view the emotions of others, and not just, so you can say it's more right brain, I guess, not just left brain like the regular IQ test. And the Anatomy of Violence book, it says that the index finger and the ring finger, you can tell if the ring finger is, I guess, significantly longer than the index finger. That shows basically a lot of testosterone, and even in women who have that, they play more sports, more dominant in sports, different things like that. So that was like a physical mark. But let's say that's basically the only difference between men and women, and why men are more violent, more dominant in a way, not in a way, but are, I guess, than women, is basically testosterone. Now I post a couple links up. And men usually score lower on the empathy test than women. So they think it's basically hormonal. It's basically genetics and testosterone. So I want to know, what do y'all think? Do y'all feel that lack of empathy, the lack of, for our position as a community, is it the lack of empathy, the lack that people don't understand slavery, that they don't understand our situation as the black community and indigenous peoples worldwide? Is that the root of all evil, or is it white supremacy's quest to dominate, control, and money, the love of money? Is it just the love? I mean, of course, it's a little bit of both. Some people like to say slavery was just a economic method. It was just for money. Some people like to say it was pure hatred. It's probably, of course, a little bit of both. But what do you feel? I don't want to hear 50-50. That's the safe route. I want people to say it's probably both, which it probably is, but why do you feel maybe more lack of empathy? Why do you feel it may be more the love of money? Let's look. There's a lot of money going around. It's a capitalistic society, but I don't know. People are well off. At the same time, they could be helping. Can you love money and still have empathy? I mean, if you don't have empathy, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're not going to help. So, I don't know. I think it's a very interesting topic. And how can we relate it to the black community? How can we as men have empathy for women's and what maybe things that they go through that we don't, and vice versa? How can women have empathy for us? Because if you really think about it, if we all had empathy for each other, we would be helping out rather than blaming and gender wars and, maybe religious wars, different things like that. It wouldn't be as bad if we had more empathy. But if we all had money, would we be okay? Or would we complain less if we just had our economic empowerment? I mean, there's always going to be some issues, but I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Me personally, I think it's a lack of empathy. I think it's a lack of empathy because I think you can have money and still donate to charity, still, like, oh, I'm going to help, but don't get too close. Like, I'll donate clothes, or I think you can I think you can love money and still help just to boost your ego or to say you did this or that. But if you lack empathy, even if you're broke, you're not going to help. Even if you have money, you're not going to help. That's what I think. And I think we should definitely look into, and that's why I listed the traits, but look into more of these personalities, the borderline especially, since that is almost half of those who commit suicide. Are these people that have committed suicide on Facebook, are they borderline personalities? Or the people that are being bullied that are committing suicide, are they, do they have borderline personalities? Is there some disruption or childhood or, different things like that? So let me know what y'all think. Is it more borderline? I mean, is it more lack of empathy or the love of money? What is the root of all evil?